All right, everybody, we're back. Flagler Weekly, reviewing another place, Coquina Coast Brewing, right here in Flagler Beach, block from the ocean. Really excited to do this review because I love coming to this place. It's got a good vibe, it's chill, fresh brewed beer with local ingredients.
And live music.
And live music.
They have cool games.
Yeah, they have a game night here. This is a very chill location. It's not a rowdy vibe. Like, it's relaxing when you're here. And the beer is great. We're gonna go in, talk to the owner, try some of the beer, give you guys a little tour of the place, and that's gonna be a wrap. Let's go. All right, guys, I'm here with Curtis, the owner of Coquina Coast Brewery, and back here looking around, he's showing us around, and I noticed these big bags here of hops, or malt, I'm sorry, and where did you get this stuff from?
So I get all these from a supplier, but I really source material from really all over the country. We have bags here. This comes out from out west. I've got oats here from Canada. I've even got stuff here that's coming from Europe. It really just comes from all over the place. There's different styles of beer that have call for different grains, different malts. You know, this bag over here, this is malt that comes from Scotland.
Okay. And then I also heard too that you use a lot of local ingredients and things that you brew when available. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I have a couple of brews on tap right now where I use local ingredients. One is the Sandy Sheets. It's a Belgian style wit beer. And I use local orange peel in that. It's a traditional ingredient that goes into that, and it's nice that I'm able to use a local ingredient. You can just find Seville oranges actually grow wild, and they're the traditional ingredient in a wit beer.
Okay.
I also have our brackish ale on right now, which is a traditional. It's an American amber, and instead of the replacing the last hop edition, I replaced it with Yopon Holly. And that was something that was used, it was used first by the Timucuan Indians, later by colonists, pioneers, and just using it as a kind of tea. And if you take the leaves, you roast them, it actually has caffeine in them. And you can make a tea out of it, but I thought it would be a neat ingredient to use. I like to use, the local, ingredients whenever I can, and that was a fun one to use.
Wow, you know also a lot about the history of beer, and how did you get into all this?
So I was actually anthropology major at University of Florida, and you study a lot about different cultures and stuff. I also minored in classical civilization, and you always hear about beer, wine, and mead at the time you couldn't find commercially. It's still not that common, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so I thought I would just go ahead and make it. So I ordered all this stuff for it, started making it, and long story short, I kind of realized I like drinking beer better than I like making mead. But I like the process, and I already had the fermentation down. I was using hops and barley, making what you call a braggot, which is kind of a beer mead hybrid. And I just at some point started making beer. And for the most part, I'm all self-taught.
Okay.
But I was doing that for about 15 years in my house, just being a home brewer before we opened up.
All right, so you had some experience before and interest too. Now, I've tried several of your beers on other occasions, and I'm telling you all right now, it's all pretty good. Now we're going to go back, and he's going to show us some of the equipment, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it.
I'm so short, please.
So now we're back here in the laboratory, and these are huge. Like, are these all the same thing, or is this like step 1, step 2, step 3?
So this is my brew house, and there's 3 different vessels, and yeah, it's 3 different steps. So this is my hot liquor tank, and hot liquor tank is basically just where I take the water and heat it up. The next step is the mash tun, and you see the mash tun has a false bottom in there. This is where all the grains will go in, and the mash is basically where I pump the hot water from the hot liquor tank over into the mash tun. The hot water will mix with the malt and all the grains, and that's my mash. The enzymes start to activate in hot water. So I would usually mash anywhere from about 145 degrees up to about 160 degrees, depending on the style of beer. But this is where all the sugar is created. And what I'm going to pump out of here is going to be the wort. The hot wort is going to be pumped into the boil kettle, which is the final kettle in my brew house here. This is where I'm going to bring it up to a boil, and this is where I do all my hop additions into the kettle. So at that point, when I finish here, I then pump it around the corner into one of my fermenters, cool it down, and that's where I add the yeast to it. And once I add the yeast, it goes from being wort to actually being beer at that point.
Okay. Wow. So let me ask you this. When you go into making the flavors of the beer, do you maybe stick to your just whatever you want to do, or do you maybe take advice from what's going on, like trends from the community or around? And obviously I'm guessing during Halloween season is when you get like the pumpkin beer, but
Yeah.
do you do it yourself, or do you take advice from maybe the people that come in?
Well, I certainly, sales drive a lot of what I do, and I found that people really look forward to seasonal beer. So yeah, I do have a pumpkin ale that will be coming up, and that'll be towards the end of September.
Okay.
Getting ready for October.
Mm-hmm.
I do a winter ale, a spiced winter ale. That's basically my Christmas ale.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple other seasonals that I do throughout the year. Right now, I've got a watermelon goes on, which is one of my summer beers that I have on. It's slightly sour, slightly salty, great on a hot day.
Mm-hmm.
But I do take a lot into consideration customers that come in. The 2 biggest sellers that I always seem to have are going to be my lighter beers and IPAs. So I always make sure I have on 1, if not 2 of each. But I do like to play around with different styles and different ingredients, and a lot of that, some I just get from inspiration, like the bracket shell I was talking about, using Neopon Holly, like how can I incorporate that into a beer. I also use like little bottle peppers, and what beer would that best go with? I found like an amber, something that's maltier, goes in with that. And a lot of times I'll also read periodicals. I do still have my Brew Your Own magazine, which is a primarily home brewer, but we do a lot of stuff that includes nano breweries, which is our size being a 2-barrel, we're a nano brewery. So I do a lot of reading on what other people are out there brewing, other kind of trends, and of course going to breweries whenever I pay off, just seeing what's out there, seeing what people are talking about.
What is your favorite beer to make and to drink, or are they the same thing?
I really like making seasonal beers. They're fun because you have to get outside of the box. You're using spices, you're using, like the pumpkin, like taking a pumpkin, actually roasting it, breaking it down, and they're more challenging beers to brew, but they're also most fun. Where you're getting the ingredients from, driving around trying to find everything. I'm making a mango beer, and mangoes are in season right now. I'll be doing that the next month. So I found a couple places out towards Orlando that has mangoes. I'm going to go out and get those. So that's kind of fun to incorporate all of that into. But personally, my favorite beers are pale ales and IPAs.
Okay. And this is the last question for the kitchen area, but when dealing with like a brewery in, say, Flagler County, how do you separate yourself from other bars or breweries, and how do you deal with that?
Well, we're the only brewery in Flagler County.
Hmm.
So this is the only place that you can come to and get a locally crafted craft beer.
Oh, okay.
You know, we're basically it. We're the only ones that have a brewery. We're the only ones that are brewing it. You can come up to the bar, and I usually have anywhere from 11 to 8 beers that are brewed right here on the premises. And not all of them are using local ingredients, but like I said, when I can, I've got 3 beers on tap right now that use local ingredients. So there's always a story, and I'm usually here. So if you come find me, I'm always happy to share.
Okay. So when you get to the final process, out of this big batch, how many kegs can you get out of that?
So this is a 2-barrel brew house. So it basically produces 2 barrels. Each of these kettles can hold 3 barrels of liquid. A barrel is equal to 30 gallons. So this is a 90-gallon kettle. It's a 2-barrel brew house, so meaning it makes 60 gallons of beer. So the amount of kegs depends on the size of kegs. Now, I use a 1/4 barrel keg.
Right.
So on a 2-barrel system, I can fill 8 kegs.
Okay. So 8 barrels? Okay. That's cool. And then, how do you get the beer into the bubbly, like carbonated state?
Carbonated?
Mm-hmm.
So one of 2 ways. There's natural carbonation. All of my fermenters are unitanks, meaning they can hold pressure. So when it's actually fermenting, the yeast is creating primarily 2 things. It's creating CO2 and it's creating alcohol. The CO2 just bubbles up to the top. If you close it, then that CO2 is forced to go in suspension. So I can hold it at 15 psi. And if I hold it there, if I don't bend it, if I don't have to make any kind of additions, spice, hops, or anything else, I can naturally carbonate it and hold it where everything is just being produced by the yeast. Now, if I don't, and I don't carbonate or I don't ferment it under pressure, then I can transfer it into my bright tank, and I have an aerator. It's a stainless steel wand that's about this big, and I hook it up to CO2 and I force carbonate it.
Oh, okay.
And that takes about a day, more or less.
Okay. That's really cool.
So and these are the natural ones you were just speaking about?
Yeah, so this is the only, these 2 right now have beer in them. So they're both fermenting.
Okay. Yeah, we just talked about that.
You need a bright tank here that I'm not using at the moment. But you transfer everything from the fermenter, once it's finished fermenting, into a bright tank. And they call it a bright tank because you put it in there to clear up. And a clear beer is a bright beer. So the finished product, all the kegging comes out of the bright tank. All the fermenting takes place right here in the conical. Like I said, this is all under pressure, so.
All right, so we're here at the bar, and Curtis here is so graciously going to allow us to try out a flight. And I brought my sister here. She's Flagler Weekly family, and she's gonna be drinking my place because I can't really do day drinking like that, man. It's rough on me. I'm a lightweight. But what exactly is a flight?
So a flight, you just have your flight board. It's usually 4 or 5. And then you get the smallest size that a brewery has, usually 4 or 5 ounces of beer for each glass. It just gives you an opportunity to drink 4 of our beers without having to have 4 full-size beers. You can still drink a flight and drive home.
Okay.
Heck yeah. So take us on a little journey of flavor.
So right now, I've got the Brackish Ale that I was talking about earlier. We've got our light beer right now is our summer seasonal out is the Old Kings Road Kolsch. And one more. Let's do the watermelon, the tailgate watermelon, which is local sea salt and local watermelons in that one.
Right on.
So, have you ever had to kick anybody out of here?
It's happened once or twice, yeah. And You think most of the time it's for fighting, and I kicked one person out for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
I kicked 2 people out because they wanted to bring their own drinks in, and they refused to stop drinking them. They kept going back to their car and getting them, and finally I just said, okay.
Yeah. And do you ever feel a responsibility for maybe if somebody gets too intoxicated, like, you know, like having to leave?
Oh yeah, I mean if it becomes apparent that someone has had a little too much to drink, and usually what happens is this is their second or third place that they've hit up that night, you know, I'll definitely you know, give them a ride home, offer them a ride home. I've driven several people home before, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I mean your customers are your most important thing you have in any business, really. So you have to take care of them. And you have a moral responsibility if you're serving them drinks to make sure that they're going to be okay.
How are the holidays here? Do you feel like, can it be a little bit too much? Like 4th of July?
4th of July, we've been open for 3 4th of Julys so far, and Flagler Beach hasn't had fireworks, so we really haven't been that busy.
Okay. So you also told us that you were open during the pandemic. That's when you started. How was that process like?
We opened up during the pandemic, but by October 2020, it was more towards the end, at least for Florida.
Right.
We were able to open up. There was no social distancing. People could come into the bar. You didn't have to, you know, eliminate like half the bar seats or anything. Anyone could sit wherever they wanted to. And it was actually kind of a boom for us. We were very busy because we had a lot of people coming in from out of state. And people would walk up and they would come in the front door and say, "Oh, this is a bar? Can I sit at the bar? I can come in, I can sit at the bar." Yeah, but
That was
yeah.
probably a nice time to start, you know, give it kind of a gradual.
Yeah, it all worked out.
All right, Dave.
All right.
Here we go.
All right.
Thank you, sir. All right, Tiffany, here we go.
All right. I think
you
we
wanna
should
do it?
start for the porter first.
Okay, left to right.
I think so.
Instead of color. Okay, let's see what we got.
All right. So porter beer.
Now, what is a porter traditionally? This is
Just
like
darker.
it's gonna be like more.
Taste that. That's really good. Wow.
Smells great.
It has a sweetness to it.
It does. There's like no bitter at all. It's very smooth. It almost has like an ice, or not like a cappuccino vibe with the foam and
That's
everything.
the porter, right?
Yeah. It's strong but not overbearing. Yeah, I really like that.
What is the definition? Like, what makes a porter a porter?
The roasted malts.
Maybe you want to take a seat.
So that's why it has that coffee flavor because it's roasted.
Yeah, the roasted malts. There's 2 different roasted malts in there. There's Black Prince and chocolate malt. They're both roasted malts. If you look at the range of colors, the roasted malts look almost black.
So this is almost kind of like a dark roast coffee, almost. Like, is that the kind of the same way?
You get
Like,
there's a lot of similar reactions that are going on when it's roasting to that degree. So you will get a lot of coffee espresso-like flavors.
okay, yeah, it shows for sure.
Yes. All right. Ready to go with this one?
Going light. Yep, the lightest. And this is the Kolsch.
Yep.
Old
Kolsch,
Kings.
that's,
Old Kings Kolsch.
So, what local ingredients was in this one again?
None.
None.
No. That's
Okay.
just a light beer.
No, Old Kings. Here's Old Kings.
But Kolsch is it's an ale that's brewed in Cologne, Germany. They traditionally
nice
brew
blonde.
during the summer, so it's great summer brew.
Very light. Good flavor. What do you think?
That was really good. It's got like a subtle like under flavor. You know what I really like about
Refreshing.
this beer too? Like I've been to like a few like German restaurants before and has some like really good German beer. And I noticed this foam is almost like a cream. As you know, if you get like a Budweiser or something, it's very like soda foamy, but in a really nice brew, it's got this creamy top on it, and this has that as well. So I mean, I really like that.
A lot of IPAs, it's where you taste the flavor too. Well, it's not IPA, but you know, they say it's in the flavor.
It's good. Now
Right.
this is the
Tailgate.
tailgate.
I must feel like I need a water to kind of like really appreciate the flavors.
Oh no, this is the watermelon tailgate.
Ooh, okay.
A little fruity.
All right.
Go ahead.
Going for it. Sweet, salty. It's good. It's what you want on a hot day, for sure.
It smells really good.
Right?
Like it's
But even like the aftertaste on it.
explosively watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not too sweet. Like I was expecting it to be a lot more like overpoweringly sweet, but it's not. It's perfect balance. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is good. It is sweet. It's not. It's got like a little tart, but it's not sour.
The saltiness. You taste the saltiness in it.
I do.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Heck
got
yeah.
local sea salt and local watermelon in it.
Okay. Local. Heck yeah. Yeah. This one's really good too.
I think that one might be my favorite. All right.
The
That's the brackish. Yeah.
the brackish. Okay.
Sorry.
Brackish.
We have one right there. That's the one that has the Yukon Hall.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's nice red. And you know, you remember Amberbach when Amberbach first came out before they changed their ingredients? That is way better than like any red I've ever had.
Yeah. I'll say
Better than Asmetics too. I mean, it's good.
I'm usually like more of like a real light beer because the darker ones seem like a little heavy, but this isn't.
It's a perfect medium
It's
between
not
a
too
blonde.
heavy. Yeah. It's really good. So that's 4 for 4, all great.
4 for 4.
And these are only 4 out of 12, 13 that are on there right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot to try here.
Oh, you want to try more?
Oh no, not us specifically,
Oh, come
but
on now.
Flagler County.
Looks like that would be part
Lots of
2 then.
options, yeah. So I really recommend that you guys get down here and try some of this home brew.
Yes.
Kurt, I really appreciate you letting us in here and showing us the back and everything that you got going on. This is really, really cool. I didn't even understand the real process of a brewery and what that entails.
Yeah, it's been very educational,
Mm-hmm.
and the beer was great.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks y'all for
Yeah.
stopping by.
definitely. Thanks a lot.
And, guys, please come in, check them in, let them know you've seen it from Flagler Weekly. And they also have trivia games. I love trivia games that they have here. They also have live music. And they have like a lot of really cool seating. They got games over there that you could play. Just come check them out, man.
Yep, keep it local.
Definitely.
Yep. Thanks, Flagler Weekly.
All right, guys. Appreciate you coming through. Curtis, we appreciate you allowing us to come in here. And everybody, if you can, follow us on Instagram at Flagler Weekly. Follow on Facebook too. Follow Coquina Coast Brewing Company on Instagram and Facebook as well. And everybody come in here. Let's flood this place. Tell them Flagler Weekly sent you. Thank you.